Good evening, everyone. My name's Steve. I have a blog at christiananarchist.com. I haven't written a blog post this week, but I did last week. I'm going to try to do this once a week, or at least more than I did last year. Anyways, I do a weekly stream every Sunday evening to talk about what I think's funny, what I think's crazy, to let the world know there's at least one sane person still out there, and covering, the stories of the week or what have you. And making sure my audio's good. All right, we're good. So I have been starting these streams kind of poking fun at Biden. I just can't help myself. I'm going to do it again. He's killing me with this. This one isn't so bad, but let's see what happened.
But congratulations today, the honorees, including your wife, who I understand is birthday today? Well, look, my wife has a rule in her family. When somebody's birthday, you sing happy birthday. You ready?
So that's a nice thing to do. It's a sweet thing to start off doing. Sing happy birthday. It's appropriate. You should sing happy birthday if it's someone's birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you. Well,
it's so funny to me. He didn't even know the lady's name. Excuse me. So basically, you could use this as next time someone's birthday, you can basically just play this video and mumble through the name. Oh, it's so funny. Why didn't he pull the mic away like that when it got to that part if he didn't know it? He's like, I'm just going to plow through this and make up a name as I go. Let the crowd do it, man. Think on your feet, something. Or sing, happy birthday to you and make up some words. I don't know, but don't just mumble a name. Come on. Excuse me, that's so funny. Pardon me. All right, anyways. More about Biden later. We're going to talk about the controversy this week briefly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just throwing in my 2 cents. If you've been following the Steven Crowder Daily Wire kind of saga, basically what happened is Steven Crowder, to make a long story short, was offered a $50 million contract over 4 years from the Daily Wire and didn't like the terms of it, posted a video. He didn't call the Daily Wire out by name, but he basically said, hey, they have items in this contract. It wasn't even it was like a starting point with negotiation. And at first, me not knowing anything about this, kind of thought it was crazy what Steven Crowder was saying as far as the contract, because it had penalties for getting banned on YouTube or getting strikes on YouTube of like 25% of his fee, et cetera, et cetera. But then the Daily Wire came back and said, they outed themselves, said, no, it was us. And that was just a non-binding offer sheet, essentially, to kind of get the negotiation started, and said, hey, if we're going to make money from YouTube, it only makes sense if YouTube is no longer a revenue stream. We're going to pay you less. And this whole thing kind of blew up. He recorded a phone call. Steven Crowder recorded a phone call with this Jeremy guy from the Daily Wire. It's kind of a crappy thing to do. And kind of throwing him under the bus pretty much. And Steven Crowder is right in the fact that there needs to be alternative media for conservatives. We shouldn't be reliant on, these big tech companies that hate us. And I couldn't agree more. But the long and short of it is, I think the Daily Wire is right. I mean, yeah, it was kind of a crappy offer to begin with, but the fact is they were trying to maximize the money they could give to Steven Crowder. So it only makes sense as if they couldn't get that revenue back via YouTube, via Facebook, or what have you, that Steven Crowder would make less money. It only makes sense. So anyways, this whole thing, in my opinion, is kind of overblown. I think Steven Crowder handled it wrong. So that's all I'm going to say about that. We'll see what happens. Okay. There is a Twitter personality. Apparently this is a real person. JoJo from Jers. Who, it almost seems like this account can't be real. Like it can't be a real person because how crazy this lady's tweets are. And for example, this is her pinned tweet. And it has almost 500,000 likes. Maybe someday women in America will have as many rights as guns do. 500,000 people liked that tweet. Wow. Where do we start with saying how crazy that tweet is? Well, the Mises Caucus responded and said, you want women banned from schools, polling places, and other governmental buildings and have to be locked in a safe to keep them away from children? Exactly. It's so stupid. That tweet is so stupid. So then she followed up her most popular tweet, probably, in November, saying maybe someday transgender people in America will have as many rights as guns do. And you're like, this can't be a real person, right? And then someone responded and says, well, I can't saw the barrel off my gun. All right. All right. Anyways, that's all I'll say about that. I thought that response was funny. Man, this... All right. Moving on. I don't know what it is in these articles that keep coming out about cardiac arrest, but they're coming up with all sorts of crazy research, more like conspiracy theories, as to why there are cardiac problems, especially in children. This one says that video games can potentially trigger cardiac arrest in susceptible children. What is going on here? And then there's this one. A new study published found that homes with gas stoves have a 47.3% increased risk of cardiovascular events. Oh, shoot. They also found that gas stove usage jumped enormously in 2020. Right. It's those natural gas stoves. All of a sudden, for some unknown reason, in 2020, spiked. Is that what it is? I'm confused. I thought it was climate change, honestly. But no, it's either video games or gas stoves. Or maybe and climate change. I don't know. All this stuff is impacting the heart. Who knew? It's crazy. I knew something happened in 2020, though, but I didn't know it was gas stoves. I thought it was something else. I'm crazy. Oh, shoot. Anyways. Moderna, one of these crazy companies, has new exciting technology coming out, mRNA technology, that can repair and regenerate cardiac tissue. Wow. Awesome. That's so awesome. They're going to make a new mRNA shot to fix what their first ones did. That is a pretty sweet business model. You force everyone to take your product. A subset of those people, per YouTube guidelines, a very insignificant portion of people, but people nonetheless generate a side effect, and they're going to make a new product to solve that problem. It's amazing. These people are amazing. And the corruption is just so rampant. It's really unbelievable. All right. Here's my next goofy article. Oh, hitting the wrong button. Here we go. Get ready for this one. If plants are so intelligent, should we stop eating them? Research suggests plants may be able to learn and communicate. This really put me off my baked potato. So, if we can't eat plants, and just by looking at this lady, I'm assuming she doesn't eat meat, what else is there? Well, I pulled the article up a little bit. It says if you were starting to polish your veganuary halo, just making up dumb words. Sorry, I have upsetting news. Gleaned from Radio 4 program called Is Eating Plants Wrong? Spoiler alert, maybe. But what could we eat in the UK at this time of year under that regime? Nuts? Wouldn't we be depriving squirrels? Lab-created meat is still at the experimental stage and costs more than a Salt Bae gold-sprinkled steak. Is that true? But is roadkill allowed? What is happening right now? Is she suggesting eating roadkill? So her ideas is nuts and roadkill. Whew. I would say breatharianism, only eating air, is due a revival, but it is mad, dangerous, and probably a cult, so no. What? I'm not kidding you. This was in the article. I read it. This is a screenshot from the article. Breatharianism? Eating air? Huh? I tell you, man, the world is going crazy. All right. Eat all the plants you want. For crying out loud. Now they're going to start making vegans feel bad. Don't you know plants are living too? And is lab-created meat really more expensive than a gold-sprinkled steak? I kind of doubt that. I've seen some in the grocery store. And I think those gold steaks, I think they're like hundreds of dollars. So I'm not quite sure that's right. But anyways, is that not crazy or what? All right. Biden says he has no regrets over classified document handling. Nothing there. So here's my 2 cents on this whole thing. You know, everyone made a big fuss about Trump and his classified documents. And now, you know, they keep finding classified documents of Biden's. I think 3 separate days. I got another news alert or something saying, hey, they found more documents, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it sounds like he is handling this different than what Trump did, to be fair. You know, Trump kind of went back and forth with his lawyers and said, no, I don't want to hand him over. I got him secured right here, and et cetera, et cetera. And he was the president prior to this, whereas Biden was the vice president, presumably, when he had those documents, and then supposedly turned him over right away. So there is some differences there. However, I kept thinking back to this clip I saw on MSNBC, and listen to how Hillary Clinton described handling classified documents back when everyone was up in a roar about Trump's. Before we knew Biden had documents. Listen to this.
Hillary Clinton, as we mentioned, was on The View yesterday, where she described the protocol for handling sensitive information.
There were times when I was Secretary of State that literally a military courier would come into my office. It would be an emergency. There wouldn't be time to get to the White House and have a meeting in what's called a SCIF, a secured facility. So usually a man, it was always a man as I remember, walked in. He would have like a briefcase locked to his wrist. And he would come into my office and he would say, "You have to look at this immediately, Secretary." He would unlock the briefcase. He would stand there. He would give me this document that had really delicate, secret information about something of importance. I would read it, then I would sign that I had read it. It would go back into the locked box, attached to his wrist, and off he would go.
So I kept thinking back to this clip, and I'm like, well, if that's true, and that probably is true or has happened, right? Well, then how can you just randomly bring classified documents home? Obviously, she's describing the most extreme case of reviewing classified documents. And this is how she portrayed it when Trump had it, right? Let's keep listening.
So I don't understand how these documents ended up where they are. I don't understand how he was permitted to take them even to the residence, let alone to a country club in Florida.
Hillary Clinton supposedly doesn't understand how those classified documents got there because they should have been handcuffed to some guy's wrist in a briefcase.
I don't understand it.
So,
crazy, right? Well, obviously, they let him escape this room, or he cut the guy's arm off to get the briefcase. Isn't it just shows how, and this is such an obvious point, but like how politicized all this stuff is, the Republicans and Democrats, and Hillary Clinton knows darn well that it isn't the situation she just described doesn't handle or doesn't describe, the norm for reviewing classified material, or certainly not all of it. I'm sure there are times when you're just handed a stack of papers or whatever, and I don't know, maybe it truly does get lost in the shuffle. I can't imagine how much paperwork they push across their desk and they look at on a daily basis. I mean, even if you are the vice president, I'm sure it's a lot. But I find it hard to believe you would accidentally take it home, or just casually leave it in a box and then that box later gets moved, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just so funny that Hillary Clinton talks about how it was handcuffed to some guy's wrist, and she doesn't understand how it could possibly just end up in someone's home. Of course, she's never going to say this same thing about Biden and how they keep finding documents in his house. I mean, obviously, right?
There's Hillary Clinton laying out, of course, she had the server in her house, and that was the focus of the 2016 campaign while she was Secretary of State. A State Department investigation under President Trump, Donald Trump's State Department, did find that she had not deliberately mishandled classified information, but she's making it clear there that there's just no plausible explanation for lifting boxes and boxes of classified, some of it top secret material from the White House, and putting them at your beach resort.
Now, top secret, as far as I understand, is the most secret. And as far as I know, we don't know what classification the documents Biden had were. Were they just classified, or, were they top secret or whatever? And there's a few other levels or whatever, but we don't know that. But it just, again, it's just so crazy. I don't know. I can't stand Hillary Clinton. I really can't. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say on that. We'll see what happens with Biden. I mean, obviously, this is getting treated differently by the media. But this is what they were saying when Trump had it. All right, what else we got?
Hillary Clinton.
Oh, you will not believe it. You will not believe it. Over the weekend, this past weekend, in mid-January, there apparently was protests in Atlanta, I think Friday night or Saturday, yesterday. We had another example of this classic CNN screenshot from an interview, the reporter they had. Fiery but mostly peaceful protest after police shooting, and then there's just utter destruction behind this guy. Cars on fire, buildings on fire. It happened again. The same thing. It's so crazy. This is a screenshot I took from Twitter from ABC News. 6 people were arrested after a peaceful protest over a proposed police training ground turned violent in Atlanta. And literally in the background, in their same video, is a police vehicle set on fire. In fact, they even say it. Police vehicle set on fire. But these were mostly peaceful. Let's watch the video. Man, they really got that thing good. I think it's the same looping video or something. Now, you could argue that it was mostly peaceful. So if you had 1,000 people there and one idiot goes and firebombs a police car, you could describe that as mostly peaceful. I suppose. But the reality is if it only takes one knucklehead to make it not a peaceful protest, right? And I'm sure it was probably more than one person. In fact, they even say they arrested 6 people. So, it sounds like it may have started off as a peaceful protest, but quickly no longer was a peaceful protest. I mean, it's just crazy. Just straight up gaslighting people.
An Atlanta police vehicle is on fire.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, we should back up. Back up, everybody. Or those shots are from the car.
That was something.
That is actually kind of dangerous.
Yeah. I don't know what she's worried about. This is a mostly peaceful protest. I can't get over these people, man. All right, anyways. Can you believe that happened again? All right, I put this clip in. It's so insane what our vice president said right here. I just have to at least play it and comment on it. Now, I am pretty sure this video, I saw it this weekend, but I'm pretty sure this wasn't a new video. I want to say this is from a year or two ago. But nonetheless, I saw it flying around on Twitter again, and it's definitely worth commenting on. And she's wearing a mask, of course.
Equality suggests often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place.
It's hard to describe, or it's hard to know where to start to explain how insane this ideology is. She's actually arguing that everyone should end up in the same place. I mean, that is literally impossible. Humans, who said that? I think this was a Thomas Sowell quote, that the same person isn't even equal to themselves on different days. And then you start comparing people. I mean, I am the world's worst artist. I can't draw a good stick figure. I mean, I am terrible at drawing. I wish I was better, but I'm awful. And I am amazed at the talent some people have of painting just beautiful portraits or even just sketching something or even those characters. You know how they do those goofy characters you see at amusement parks or whatever. I'm just amazed by it, how they can just do that. It's like magic because I would never be able to do something like that. Now I can practice and practice and practice, but there's always, and that is just one silly example, but like there's a wide breadth of talent, experience, physical characteristics, your height, your weight. I mean, the idea that you can have everyone equal or equity is so insane. And more importantly, it leads to dangerous outcomes. Because by trying to achieve equity, you have to put in some pretty harsh and barbaric policies in place to do that. They try to make it sound good, but listen, don't be fooled by this. And them changing the word equality, which what comes to mind, at least to me and probably most people, is like equality under the law, right? In theory, everyone should be equal under the law. And that doesn't even happen, I mean, that's why Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, George Bush, all of them are still walking free. They're all war criminals, but they are obviously above the law. So to think we're all equal under the laws, even that is just goofy. But anyways, that's enough about that. I can go on and on about that topic, but it's just so insane that we have the second person in command in the United States government talking about equity. It's dead nuts. In other news, the World Health Organization posted this on Twitter. Vaccination is about protecting yourself, but it's also an inherent altruistic act. You're vaccinating yourself in order to be part of an immune group that will then protect those who can't be vaccinated. This is straight up misinformation. Straight up misinformation. And of course, I'm sure that I just saw this on Twitter, but I'm sure this is on Facebook. I'm sure it's on Instagram or wherever else the World Health Organization has an account. Straight up misinformation. It does not make you immune. Certainly. I'm going to play this video. It has music, so I'm just going to have to kind of read what he says. And they start off by saying, should it be mandatory? It's insane. I don't believe in mandatory vaccination. I do believe in the principles that we have a duty to protect ourselves. We also have a duty to protect families, and we have a duty to wider society. A vaccination is to protect yourself, but it is also an inherently altruistic act. Okay. In that you are vaccinating yourself in order to be part... Oh, gosh darn it. Oh, yeah. To be a part of an immune group that will then protect others who can't be vaccinated for other reasons. I believe that many are vaccine hesitant. I don't believe many people are anti-vaccination. And I think there's a bit of a difference between people who are anti-vaccination as an ideological principle and those people who have genuine questions and concerns around the vaccination. And we have to do a much better job understanding people's concerns. Yeah. Yeah. You think? Understanding the reasons why are hesitant about vaccination. I am not hesitant, at least as it pertains to this vaccine in question. Some of that is built on years and years of experience of an unfair system or a health system that hasn't treated people very well, but I reserve a particular view on those individuals who are out there presenting false information and misinformation around vaccination, like you're doing. They're different. I don't think we're going to convince those people. But the damage they do, they have a choice, and everyone has that choice. And if they choose not to be vaccinated for themselves, fair enough. But the damage they do by promoting and continually promoting pseudoscience, it has a hugely negative effect on these people, who then ultimately become infected and are hospitalized, go to intensive care unit, or die in the absence of having been vaccinated. Holy crap, do you believe this? They actually posted this, and this is not a 2-year-old video or, a year ago, 18 months ago. No, they just posted this like a couple days ago. It's insane that they're still saying all this stuff. It's just straight up not true. Pseudoscience. Give me a break with this. So ridiculous. Now, I also saw this story floating around. A Utah doctor allegedly destroyed vaccines and gave fake shots to children. And then you have conservatives going around, saying that this surgeon or these who is it? The doctor, excuse me, is like a hero for doing this. And this guy asks, is he a hero or a villain? And apparently they were selling fake vaccine cards for $50 a pop if the parents requested it. Now, listen, I don't know. Maybe I have a controversial take on this, but I mean, here's my honest opinion. If parents come in and want their child to be vaccinated, the doctors are committing fraud by doing this, especially if the parents thought they were getting the actual vaccine. That is fraud. I'm sorry. That is fraud. And they're certainly not heroes. So here's the thing. You can make an argument, and this is kind of what I believe. Of course, all of our public health authorities don't believe it, especially that guy in the last video, but that children shouldn't be vaccinated against this. I mean, for a myriad of reasons. The risks outweigh the rewards by a long shot. Like, it's not even close, in my humble opinion. But if a parent has made that decision for their kid, they shouldn't. If doctors are doing this, they're committed fraud. And it doesn't take any bravery to do this. They're like, oh, these doctors are so brave because they didn't want to, potentially harm these kids or whatever. No, what they should have done is been outspoken and refused to even pretend that they were going along with this in the first place. They're not a hero for doing that. You could argue, hey, they can live with themselves, with their conscience, because they're actually not giving the kids these shots. But they're doing it in a fraudulent way. Have the courage to come out and be against the whole regime, the whole COVID regime. That would take bravery. That would be a hero, because what's going to happen is they would lose their job. Now, they're certainly going to lose their job if, now that this has been brought to light, because it's fraudulent. And then selling fake vaccine cards is a bit much. They're part of the reason why we're in this situation. If we had more doctors and stuff not going along with this, we wouldn't be in this situation. So I don't think this takes any courage at all. What real courage would have been is risking your job and your livelihood. So that's my 2 cents on that. I mean, I don't know. People may disagree with me and say, no, they should have been doing this, but no. Maybe I'm more of a radical ideological zealot when it comes to that. But if you believe in something, you got to go roll with it. We're doing this half thing. Oh, I'll sell you fake vaccine cards. You can pretend you're part of the system and you can get in to restaurants or whatever. No, screw that whole entire system. Don't even, screw that. Fight it. It's frustrating. Yeah, exactly. Doctors can refuse to give it, but should not lie or trick the parents like that. That is wrong. Exactly. It's fraudulent. They're lying. Oh, okay. So check this out. I happened to see this tweet. This guy who, I don't know, just some random guy on Twitter. I saw him make this tweet in response to someone else, and he said, "The sole downside to this situation is that you and your Bible banging plate heads aren't killing yourselves off fast enough." Like, what? Wow. And he retweeted some Vice article. Almost twice as many Republicans died from COVID before the midterms than, whatever, probably Democrats. So I just retweeted. I said, well, this guy seems nice. And then he responds with, "Your uniquely American brand of Christianity is poison. You vile ilk are responsible for the majority of mass shootings here in the U.S. You bring exactly zero redeeming qualities to the concept of an American citizen. Jews will not replace us was all you. January 6th, all you." I was like, dude, this guy has lost his mind. And so I responded to this. Not in the way you would think, but I said, "I've got nothing but love for you. You're as misguided as those whom you describe." I said, hey, let's see if he writes back on that. But I don't know who he's talking about. He's sitting here saying January 6th was all me. I'm responsible for mass shootings. I'm, an anti-Semitic, etc. I mean, he just went off the deep end. And so I said, listen, I've got nothing but love for you. You're just as misguided as those whom you describe. So then he responded, and listen to this response I got. "Firstly, they're your people. Your name, Christian anarchist, is precisely the weapon they/you wield. Second, on your own website, you became politically aware in 2016, right when the murderer Trump came to power. You voted for him. I'm asking a direct question. Did you attend January 6th? Oh my gosh, this guy's crazy. And so honestly, I didn't respond to him because at this point I realized this guy was trolling me. I mean, obviously. I mean, hopefully no one's that crazy. Maybe he is, but I realized this guy, he's too far gone. So I just left it alone, and he hasn't said anything since. But, I mean, it's a pretty good troll if you just want to get people worked up or whatever. But I wasn't falling into that trap. I just said, listen, I've got nothing but love for you, and you're misguided, which is true. Assuming he's not a troll. And then he comes back and says, I voted for Trump, and he's asking me if I attended the January 6th thing. I'm like, man, these people have no idea. They think that anyone who disagrees with them is a, white supremacist Trump voter. It's crazy. Anyways, I thought that was funny. I probably could have continued it because it would have got even funnier with this guy. But listen, I'll say a prayer for this guy. And, he clearly hates Christians, that's for sure. Now, I will say, I looked at a couple of his other tweets and articles he was retweeting and stuff, and there is an argument about this. There are like Christian nationalists out there, and I think he's kind of lumping me into that group for whatever reason. And, I don't fall in that group. And that's probably worth its own explanation or video, just talking about Christian nationalism and, which I think the basic idea would be we would want to create laws that are biblically sound. But the truth is, this microphone. But the truth is like, we can't legislate morality. I mean, that's kind of the whole libertarian thing. It's like, as long as you're not violating someone's rights, it shouldn't be against the law, right? And anyways, that's worth its whole other discussion. But I thought it was funny because this guy was going crazy. I got a good laugh out of that. All right, finally, I saw another tweet. It says, when Jesus was talking about feeding the poor, it's Christianity. But when a politician talks about feeding the poor, it's socialism? And look at this. It had like 62,000 likes, 3 million views on this thing. And I don't know who this guy is, but a lot of people are confused on that and say, well, if I'm against the government trying to take care of the needy, then I'm not a Christian or whatever, because it's not something a Christian would support. I mean, it's such a goofy argument. So, I mean, the obvious response is, I think taxation is theft. It's immoral. No matter what they use that tax money for. And the reality is, most of that money goes to the bureaucracy and line the pockets of the well-connected. It certainly doesn't help the poor. In fact, they have no incentive to help the poor. The key is it voluntary? That's the moral position. Yeah, he instructed us to give to the poor voluntarily, not go try to rob our neighbor to do something beneficial with it. I mean, it's kind of like, this meme, isn't it? Listen, I couldn't find the perfect meme for it, but this is what I found. I don't like saying libertarian Jesus. I don't like saying that, but it's the concept I'm trying to get across here. It's like, I told you to feed the poor, not create laws that steal from people to do it. That point is exactly right. And again, ignore the libertarian Jesus. I probably should have cut that out because it drives me crazy. But it's the concept, right? You're not supposed to create laws to try to steal from others, to do what we ought to be doing voluntarily as Christians, right? So, hope that makes sense. Anyways, if you've enjoyed these videos, I don't know, I kind of like doing them. It's kind of therapeutic for me just to sit here and talk. It's kind of awkward talking in front of a microphone by yourself. It's kind of weird. So I'm kind of just practicing and seeing how it goes. But if you do, give it a like, and hope you have a great week. And I will be here next Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, and take care.